Photosynthesis, Light-Dependent Reactions by Claire Prahl, Lily Czar, and Sharon Nam. Energy that drives photosynthesis comes from the sun in the form of light energy. This light hits the leaves of the plant and reaches the plant cells there, but the magic happens in the chloroplast, an organelle that plant cells possess. Light-dependent reactions specifically happen in the thylakoid membrane. Let's take a closer look. The light-dependent reactions start with photosystem 2, where photons, or the smallest unit of light, are absorbed and excite electrons present in the complex. The light energy is transmitted through accessory pigments until it reaches P680 in the reaction center complex, the white box. P680 excites electrons and raises their potential energy. But where did these electrons come from? Electrons between the bonds of hydrogen and oxygen in water are accessed through the splitting of water. When the hydrogens are popped off the oxygen, one is left with hydrogen ions, electrons, and oxygen molecules. The two oxygens immediately bond together after the reaction has occurred and creates an extremely important product in aerobically respiring life, oxygen gas. This molecule is essential to the relationship between cellular respiration and photosynthesis, as oxygen is an essential reactant in cellular respiration, the final electron acceptor. The electrons that have been separated are used during the light-dependent reactions, and the hydrogen ions are used to make a concentrating gradient that will later generate ATP, but more on that later. Excited electrons travel through the first electron transport chain between photosystems 1 and 2. The energy-rich electrons move through the cytochrome complex and make their way to photosystem 1 while simultaneously pumping hydrogen ions into the thylakoid space from the stroma on the other side of the membrane. This will come into play later with ATP synthesis. The electrons have made it to photosystem 1 and have arrived to photosystem 1's special pair of chloroplasts, P700. At this point, the electrons are not as energy-rich as they were before because they lose energy traveling through the electron transport chain, but are reinvigorated by the photons and light energy that the accessory pigments pass along until it gets to P700 and excited them once more. Once the electrons are excited, they are passed along to the primary electron acceptor, and they make their way through the electron transport chain once more, pumping hydrogen ions into the thylakoid space. The electrons get to the integral protein NADP+ reductase. Here, they are transferred to an electron carrier called NADP+, which is reduced to NADPH because hydrogen ions always follow electron movement because of the attraction of their charges. The energy originally from the sun is now stored in the reduced energy carrier NADPH. This stored energy is used in the light-independent aspect of photosynthesis. Remember the hydrogen ions pumped across the membrane by the movement of electrons? Well, they play a major role in ATP synthesis, another form of energy used in sugar production in the Calvin cycle. In a process called chemiosmosis, the hydrogen ion buildup in the thylakoid space causes the ions to diffuse along their concentration gradient, their movement rotating the rotor-like protein that synthesizes ATP, aptly named ATP synthase. The movement of hydrogen ions power the combination of ADP and inorganic phosphate to make ATP, a highly usable form of energy within the cells. In summary, sunlight and water have created ATP and NADPH just through the light-dependent process in the thylakoid membrane. In addition, it also gave oxygen gas, a necessity to aerobically respiring life. ATP along with NADPH are used as sources of energy for the Calvin cycle. In this way, even the light-independent reactions still rely on sunlight. In the Calvin cycle, carbon dioxide will come into play and ultimately glucose will be produced, the main goal of photosynthesis. Thanks for watching!